Yay. Hello, my friends, as you filter in, and welcome to the first draft show of the season. I think I've watched enough guys that I can talk about the draft semi-intelligently for at least 15 to 30 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 guys. That's what I've seen. 20 guys. So I got thoughts and whatnot for Cowboys draft stuff. I got names. I got people I like. I got people I don't understand. I'm out here crushing it. So if you have draft thoughts, questions, whatever, feel free to throw them in here. I had some on Twitter too, because you got to start the video without people here yet, and you got to figure out what am I going to do. And so let's see here. Luther talk in honor of Dane's mock from Ryan on Twitter. Luther Burden the Third. Dane Burgo did a mock draft today on The Athletic. Luther Burden the Third is the guy they picked for the Cowboys. Ashton Jeanty was available, the Boise State running back, but he went with Luther Burden the Third, and I don't hate him for it. That would be fun. Luther Burden the Third is like a. I wish I was better at comps. Luther Burden the Third is that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Like a Turpin that actually plays receiver. I was going to say once you have to do too many things that are different from the guy you're trying to compare him to, it gets really tough. So I was going to be like, well, he's like a lighter Deebo Samuel that also runs faster, but isn't as physical and violent, but is quicker and separates better. That's a lot different. So it's nothing like Deebo. DJ Moore's not bad in the chat. DJ Moore's not a bad comp. Yeah. Kind of compact, not tall. Get the ball in his hands and watch him raise hell. That's Luther Burden the Third. That would be fun. From Twitter, we ain't taking an O-lineman. Don't you try to crush my dreams. I found an O-lineman I love. I found a dude I love. That's a weird sentence. Well, not if you're into that sort of thing. The Texas left tackle, Kelvin Banks Jr., baller. I'd take him all day. I heard some of my friends are hating on him. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but I heard some of my friends are hating on him a little bit. Ryan Sims is here, and Ryan Sims, if there's one thing Ryan Sims wants to do, it's mock draft. 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I haven't seen enough players to do a damn mock draft, Ryan Sims. I do have my miniature draft board. I'll put the link in the chat just for the hell of it. Copy link. It's a little tiny draft board because there's not that many people on it. But why wouldn't you want to have it? Here you go. Boop. Wait, who had a bad Georgia game? Banks? Did my friend say that? They must have found him playing Georgia in a different year. 13 from Georgia got him once in the fourth quarter for a sack that took 3 seconds. For 30 snaps that game, 13 was like, damn, I can't do anything against this dude. Boy, if we think Georgia was a bad game for Kelvin Banks, I would hate to see what an actual bad game looks like for an offensive lineman. I watched Kelvin Banks shut down everything Georgia had for 3.5 quarters and then have 2 plays where a really good player got him a little bit. And then I started to watch the Michigan game, and I was like, I'm good. I got him. That's my rule for scouting, by the way. My rule for scouting players is you watch until you say, I'm good. I got him. So I watched the first quarter and a half against Michigan after I watched Kelvin Banks play against Georgia. And after just watching him every time he down blocked or they're trying to come this way or whatever, Michigan's got 2 D tackles that might go in the first round. They wanted no part of Kelvin Banks. They ain't got nothing for him. But he's a little bit shorter than a lot of offensive tackles that people like. So here's my thing about Kelvin Banks. I'm just going to do, because I just watched him. And I want the Cowboys to pick him real bad. If he's on the board whenever the Cowboys pick him. We need trench help. And I think that he's a step-in starter that's infinitely better than Tyler Guyton today. And if you want to play the game where you take every offensive tackle whose arms aren't super long and isn't 6'6" and you move him to guard, then get the Hall of Fame speech ready in 23 years for Kelvin Banks, because that's the sort of guard that he would probably be. He's a monster. He's a monster. So anyway, what's up, Jeffrey? In for the V commercial break. What's the V commercial break? I don't understand. Who's having a commercial? Move Guyton to right tackle. So here's my thing about Tyler Guyton. I don't quit on guys after their rookie years, but I think you're silly if you just assume that, oh, he's going to be great, so we'll just throw him back out there. Like, if the board falls where the best player available plays left tackle, and the guy that I picked last year was not good at left tackle, and he played right tackle the year before in college, like, he can show up to camp and we'll figure it out. But I'm not going to intentionally put out a liability because my hopes and dreams are that he'll be good. Like, that's what they did with Mozzie this year. He was a starting nose tackle at the beginning of the year, and he's made progress. He looks like he's getting better at football. But there was no reason to take the field with him as your starting nose tackle just because you picked him in the first round the year before. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. Jeff, any chance they actually spend real money this offseason? Yeah, there's a chance. I don't know if they really will, because it's just kind of not what they do, because Jerry's cheap. But there's a chance. It's built in to restructure Dak and CeeDee, so they should have $80 million to spend. What happened with Guyton? Heard a lot of good things in the offseason, then poop. The things I'm finding out about Tyler Guyton are, you got to be careful with stuff that you hear, that it's not like documented, because I don't want to slander anybody. But my understanding is that Guyton might be the sort of young person who doesn't respond great when things aren't going well to adversity and whatnot. And when that sort of personality steps into the NFL, when some people told you that if you thought Tyler Guyton was going to start as a rookie, that he was going to struggle, some people can handle that, and some people really struggle with that. And now you're kind of down on yourself, and you're struggling on top of the fact that you're struggling, and that gets really hard on you. Would Steele be a decent guard? They thought about it. What was that, a year or two ago? Like, right after they paid him, they thought about it, which is the silliest thing I've ever heard. They paid their right tackle coming off of an injury, and then they were playing with the idea of moving him, which is weird, but whatever. What's more likely, they spend more in free agency or they draft a safety in the first? Maybe both. Because let me tell you something about a safety in the first. This is a weird draft. I heard my friend Dane Brugler, who I talked to today because I needed to get something from him. I saw him on with my other friends, Vach Lombardi and Brian Broaddus. And he introduced a 3-word phrase that I think everybody needs to know for this draft. And that was it, actually. Either in this draft or for this draft. This is a weird draft. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to pull up the 2024 NFL draft. So the 2024 NFL draft, that was the one that took place in April, if you didn't know that. Let's say the best quarterback in this draft, whether you think it's Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or Jalen Milroe, I think that covers everybody that anybody might think is the best quarterback in this draft, or in that draft, in this draft. Caleb Williams would have gone before any of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take our 2025 guys that we're going to be talking about for the next few months, and what if they were in the last draft? The top quarterback in this upcoming draft would have probably been the 6th or 7th quarterback in last year's draft. Maybe ahead of Bo Nix, maybe not. So they would have been the 6th or 7th best quarterback in last year's draft. The best wide receiver, Travis Hunter's weird, so just ignore him for a second, because Travis Hunter would have gone in the top 10 last year. Absolutely, positively, no doubt about it. He goes in the top 10 every year. But if we just get rid of him for a minute, then the next best wide receiver is 1, 2, 3, at best the 4th wide receiver in last year's draft, maybe 5th. The best pass rusher in this draft probably is I didn't love last year's pass rush class, but is still probably the 3rd or 4th best pass rush prospect in last year's class. The best offensive tackle is probably the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th best offensive tackle in last year's class. What I'm telling you is it's a bad draft. And in a bad draft, If you want to take a safety because he is the best available player and you don't think that it's stocked up at other more valuable positions, fire away. If the Cowboys pick 13th and you pick Malachi Starks, the Georgia safety, good pick. I think it's a good pick. In a lot of years, I'd be like, hey, you got to, where's my offensive tackle? Where's my pass rusher? Where's my, insert more valuable position here? It's a weird draft. It's a weird draft. Do I have that much gray hair now? Like, is that side gray or is that just short? Crap, I am getting old, aren't I? Is that all gray? Oh my, is that all gray? I gotta get hair club for men and Botox. Anyway, why are so many of our fans against drafting Michigan D tackles just because he's from Michigan, especially when Mason Graham is best D tackle prospect in a while? I don't think he's the best D tackle prospect in a while. I think he's a good prospect. Oh yeah, let's do D tackle. Let me see last year's D tackles. Where would Mason Graham have gone? Byron Murphy he might have gone ahead of Byron Murphy. So Mason Graham could have flirted with the top 12 to 15 last year, but he wouldn't have gone ahead of no. He would have gone at best probably 13th to 15th, Mason Graham, in last year's class. So we got new rules this year. Why it's a bad draft? All the COVID players came out last year, so we're left with people who were seniors in high school in 2020. Maybe. Yeah, that's possible. Like last year had so many players because so many dudes got extra years and did all that. Dallas should pick whatever the best player is, yes, no matter how the board falls. Now, in order to do that, the Cowboys have to do what is smart, which is making sure that you've signed your free agents to make sure you could go play a game on Sunday. They didn't do that last year, but they didn't do that last year on purpose. Normally, they do try and do at least that. Last year, they didn't. So as long as they plug the gigantic holes on the roster with passable player, then we can just go pick them. And so right now, what do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 first round guys. Normally I probably have like 16, give or take. I got 8 so far in this class. Just pick the best one. If you have a first round guy that's there, pick him. Cowboys drafted Taco Muzz. Did I never answer that? ADHD. Haven't taken my second half of my Adderall today. I don't care what school you went to. I could not care less. Like, are you going to be the guy who misses on Pat Mahomes? Because pre-Pat Mahomes, Texas Tech quarterback? What? Aiden Hutchinson played D-line at Michigan. I have no problem with a D lineman from Michigan. It's just players. Mozzie Smith was a bill of goods, man, and he could still turn into something that's decent. You just said Banks was a beast left tackle, and he'd be left tackle 6th in this draft. Banks is a beast because I've been watching all the guys in this draft, and all of my notes are like, man, these are the best guys, huh? And I turned him on expecting more of that, and I saw a real ass-kicking player, and I was like, hell yes. But last year's draft on the offensive line, J.C. Latham's a monster. Olu Fashanu, monster. Talise Fuaga, monster. Amarius Mims, monster. Troy Fatanu, monster. And that's the end of the monster list, right? Then you get down to Jordan Morgan, Tyler Guyton. Banks is comfortably better than both of them. And I think if you wanted to make him a guard, that he's going to make a bunch of Pro Bowls and maybe the Hall of Fame. But I think he could step in and start at left tackle easily for an NFL team as a rookie. What tackle was Guyton in last year's class? What was that, 6 or 7? Something like that. I mean, he was the drop-off point. Like Jordan Morgan went before him, and the Cowboys could have picked him instead of trading, but they traded and then took their guy. And like Jordan Morgan was a really good offensive tackle in college, but he was one of those offensive tackles that was kind of smaller, shorter army. And so it's like, okay, great tape, not perfect traits. What am I going to do with that? Whereas Tyler Guyton was great traits, tape. What am I going to do with that? And that's the one that they went with. What are you going to do? Graham Barton would have been our guy. Graham Barton would be a good NFL center. Where would Banks go in last year's draft? Banks in last year's draft. Somebody could have taken him over. That's tough because I think I would have probably taken Troy Fatanu over him, but I probably would have taken him over Amarius Mims because Amarius Mims didn't. So somewhere around 18 to 20. I think 18 to 20. I think he goes in one of those spots. And if not, then he goes 25th. But I also don't know because I don't know what NFL teams are going to do. You know? That's what I don't know. Jeff, do you partake on the tweeds? No, I microdose mushies, though, and it's the greatest antidepressant of all time. Of course, that is not me giving medical advice. It's just you telling you about my personal experience. What do you think about Harmon from Georgia? Don't know yet. I've seen him while watching other guys, but I haven't watched him yet. Would Cooper Beebe take Zach Martin's spot and we draft center? You could do that. You can do that. If you find a guy that you think is a step-in NFL starter, quality center, yeah, I think Cooper Beebe would be even better at guard than he is at center, but I also think he's coming along nicely at center, so I'm good with him either way. For the next 3 years, Cooper Beebe will be either your right guard or your starting center. We'll figure it out from there. Draft party at Jeff's? No draft party at Jeff's. Get me to 100,000 YouTube subscribers. We'll have a draft party at Jeff's. That gives us 5 months to add 60,400 YouTube subscribers. And then we'll be cooking. Okay. Running backs. I knew this would happen. Ashton Jeanty, Boise State. He's awesome. He's so freaking awesome. He's super awesome. I do think I probably liked Bijan Robinson better than him as a prospect. If he were in, like, what draft was it? Bijan and Gibbs were the same draft, right? I think my running back rankings in that draft probably would have been Bijan, Jeanty, Gibbs. But he's super good. I like him a lot. Problem is, what happens is you start watching the other running backs and you go, oh, I can find a running back. Hot dog or the bun? Good question.
Now this is a hot dog bun. I think it's a hot dog too.
So this class would really suck to do the whole Micah Herschel Walker. Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. All right, what was I talking about that time? Yeah, problem is you watch other running backs, and my running back crush in this class so far is Omarion Hampton at North Carolina. Love Jeanty. Love Hampton. And then you get down to the other guys who are like, ooh, I like him too. Ooh, I like him too. Oh, yeah, that guy can play NFL football. And that's the problem when we do the running backs, where, again, weird year. If the Cowboys are picking 15th and they take Ashton Jeanty, I'd be like, all right, sweet. You got an awesome running back. Hope to God you can block for him. But if you use like offensive linemen, like, all right, now in your next round, who's the best offensive lineman? And what if you had flipped how you did these 2 rounds? Would you rather have that offensive lineman and the second round back, or would you rather have Jeanty and the second round offensive lineman? I usually end up in the camp of, oh, probably should have waited on the running back. So that's what happens with me on running back all the time. How about Devin Neal out of Kansas? Look here, Kevin Gray Sports. What we're not going to do is ask me about guys I haven't watched yet. I've watched 20 guys. And I felt really proud of myself for having watched 20. And now I'm finding that 20 is not nearly enough. I don't think running back till the 3rd. Give me Ollie, Oklahoma State, or Johnson from Iowa. A lot of people. Dane had Johnson in his first round mock today for the Athletic. I have Johnson as my 3rd running back, 2nd round grade. Jeanty, Hampton, Johnson. And then Judkins, the Ohio State back. Tennessee's got this dude Sampson that's tons of fun. I think you got to partner him with somebody because he's kind of the smaller guy. Like, he's not push the pile guy, consistently hand it to him over and over again guy, I don't think. But boy, he is. They list him at 5'11", 200 something. I don't know if I believe either of those numbers. He's kind of a squirty guy. Which, you know what I mean when I say that. Don't make it weird. Kind of squirts through, you know? Luther Burden, come on down. You are a Dallas Cowboy. It's possible. That's possible. Wait to see. I got to see where they're going to pick at. But yeah, I think it's possible that Travis Hunter's gone when you pick, and then Tet McMillan, Luther Burden, I got to see other receivers too, because I'm not writing off the idea that I might like some other guys even more. But no, yeah, those are possible. Right now, I suppose I'm living in a world where, do I need to move Walker from a 1 to a 1-2? We'll figure it out later. Right now, I live in a world where I want Travis Hunter, Malachi Starks, the Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Kelvin Banks, Johnson, what's his first name? Will, the Michigan corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 names, depending on where you pick. Boy, if you'd be doing the season right, I'd be guaranteed to get one of those guys. But they're not doing this season right. And then McMillan, Burden, good. Hampton, good. Williams, the number 13 at Georgia, defensive end, good. Any one of those names would be cool. At the risk of stating the obvious, I think the pick needs to be whoever helps Dak the most. Yeah, and that's the best player. Like, the best, if you think that an offensive lineman available is the best player, then you're giving yourself the best chance to help Dak. If you think a receiver is the best player, you're giving yourself the best chance to help Dak. If you think it's a running back, you might be doing your best job at helping Dak, unless you can't block. Are you adjusting your grading system for this year? If not, how many first-round grades do you have so far? No, I'm not adjusting my grading system. I don't believe in that. Like, some people would say you should have 32 first-round grades because there's 32 first-round picks. I don't think that way, and it's probably because I wasn't taught that way. I think of a first-round grade means a certain thing about what you think about a prospect. This is how we're going to separate how we feel about all these guys, so that I know if we get to the 18th pick and I have 1 first-round grade left, yes, I know there are going to be 32 picks in this round, but it's just the easy way to know how much you value that one guy, and that, from here, there's a drop-off. Should we go get him? Et cetera, et cetera. So at the moment, don't count him twice just because you have him on the board twice. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 first-rounders out of 20 guys. That's what I got so far, and I'm good with it. Keep Osa, keep Parsons. They're going to keep Micah Parsons. There's no world where they don't keep Micah Parsons, I don't think. It doesn't make any sense. What would be the point? The whole point of acquiring talent is to try to find incredible guys. If you find incredible guys, to just trade them to someone else who's going to pay them what you didn't want to pay them, but somebody else is willing to pay them what you don't want to pay them and give you a couple of first-round picks for him, what are you doing? Your value system's broken. Just pay the guy. Obviously. Do you think Dak will be different now because his leg is a 60-year-old man's leg? Maybe. I hope not. Scares me a little bit, though. Watching him play this year, I was like, that's not a guy that's moving real well. Nothing about this looks like the guy that I'm used to watching. Doesn't look like the same All-Pro, but also it goes to the worst team. The argument for Jeanty is the Dak window might be open for 4 more years at most. Hard to worry about a second contract. I don't worry about a second contract. Like, I don't think that's part of my running back thing. My running back thing is just, I think if you told me you could get a Pro Bowl running back at 14th in the draft or a Pro Bowl left tackle, easy, left tackle. Easy. Because I can find a running back. Finding a Pro Bowl left tackle is tough. Sometimes finding one that can play is tough. I could go sign a running back tomorrow for a reasonable rate. To be a solid player and probably really good. If you block real good, that's my thing with running backs. They do need to use free agency. Wind sprint. Dak can't run wind sprints. His hamstrings fall off. Abdul Carter, an offensive lineman, also wouldn't mind one of these receivers outside of Tet McMillan. Yeah, Abdul Carter would be good, but it all goes into the same thing, which is we have to remember no matter when we're talking about this, it's in this draft. Because, like, Abdul Carter, I think, is fun. He's a nice prospect. There's just the top guys at a lot of these positions, they're either lacking a trait you want in a top 10 pick, like my guy, Kelvin Banks Jr. He's a 6'4". He's probably going to be a short-ish armed offensive tackle prospect. Hellified football player, though. Well, he'll smash you in the face. He's better than the LSU guy. Don't let Don't let my friends lie to you. The LSU guy, Campbell, I haven't studied him yet, but I saw plenty of his snaps watching other games. I'm like, oh, he's a nifty little pass blocker, but Kelvin Banks has that and will mash you in the face. And that's important. It matters to me. Sneaky Cowboys need maybe quarterback. I hope not, though, because even if you did need it, you're not going to be able to address it for probably 2 more years. Lions have done it right, building in the trenches and going outward from there. Yeah, but the Lions also went number 12 overall running back. Laporta was a tight end in the first round. Jack Campbell, linebacker in the 30s. Brian Branch, safety. Like, they had 4 premier picks, and none of them were in the trenches. Maybe because they'd kind of already done their trenches. But, yeah, I think that was the lesson I got from the Lions was pick the best effing player. You know how you'll be right? Pick the best effing player. You'll feel good about it. Pick the best guy. You'll feel great. Even Rush is moving around with more spry than Dak. He might be. Stephon Diggs or Amari Cooper reunion in free agency. I couldn't imagine Amari Cooper back here, but who knows? Because the reason that he's gone is not because they could get value for him or anything like that. It's because the Joneses wanted him gone. You got nothing for a really good football player. And they can tell you it was, $20 million and we had CD and this and that and this and that. And they didn't want him here. That's why he's gone. But who knows? Old people can be weird. They can forget that they thought that he was a terrible teammate because, you know what I'm saying? Only pick above Ashton Jeanty is D-line Graham, wide receiver Burden, Abdul Carter, maybe linebacker or safety. That's what you can run behind anyone. No, you can run behind anyone in college. A running back in college against guys, a running back who's going to go to the NFL in college, playing against a bunch of guys who are not going to go to the NFL, yeah, he can do that. Then you get to the league, and those dudes are bigger, stronger, faster, and they can all tackle, or most of them anyway. And suddenly, if you can't block, you're getting 3.6 yards a carry. And it was like, I thought he was a generational talent. And you're like, no, I promise he is. He just, like Saquon Barkley, now he's getting 6 a carry because they can block. He's a 4-yard a carry guy, just farting away with the Giants because it's the NFL. You can't just run behind whatever. How hurt would you be if they made the playoffs? That'd be super fun. I would love to make the playoffs. They're not going to. That's why I don't like their wins. It's because it's not going to happen. Draft a tackle, make Terrence Steele our swing tackle. That'd be fine. I'd be fine with post June 1 and Terrence Steele too, but they have the offensive line next year is going to be BB at either center or guard, Tyler Smith at left guard. Am I going to do this from what I think they're thinking or what they should be doing? I wouldn't write Tyler Guyton in as a starter. He has to earn that. I would add players. If I add a generic middle of the road veteran for $7 million just to make sure that I have enough guys on the offensive line. If he's better than Tyler Guyton, you ain't playing. I want something better than Steele. I want something better than Guyton. And I don't have a right guard. Maybe Hoffman or Bass can do that job, but boy, we got a lot to do on this offensive line. Which makes it hard to post June 1 Terrence Steele, but what are we going to do? Just declare that it's okay if you're not good at the job? Just because we don't want to create another hole? We got to find players. Mingo will probably work out nicely. Mingo looks like he can't play. We're only a couple weeks into it, and he's playing with a quarterback who isn't good, but Jonathan Mingo can't get open. He's just a big dude that hopefully is good after the catch. At least he was in college, but he was never even the number 1 receiver in college, even in his 5th year. That was probably a throwaway of another 4th-round pick by Jerry Jones. He's probably 2 for 2 on throwing away 4th-round picks. Has Hoffman played good enough to be our Zach replacement? Do y'all think somehow Zach Martin resigns for 1 or 2 years? I think Zach is done. I think Hoffman's on track. I think Hoffman's on track to consider that maybe. But even if you think that, the way they did it this last offseason, they would do nothing else on the O-line. They'd be like, well, we have Brock Hoffman. He's going to be our right guard. If Guyton we don't feel is good enough, we've got the great, awesome Richards. And then we got that's center, that's right guard. BB's here. And Steele's surely going to bounce back at any moment. Like, that's Cowboys of last offseason. That's how you go 7-10 again next year, is doing things that way. Go get players. Dak will make Mingo a star. I do like optimism. I support your optimism. I don't want to tear it down. I think they probably, odds are, threw away a 4th-round pick. And that Mingo will... There's no competition on this team right now for targets. He should be getting fed. But just like in Carolina, he can't get open. He don't separate. He's just a big old wide receiver. That's a strong guy. But we hope for the best. Overshown, Abdul Carter, and Mike at linebacker. Okay, let me tell you which guy I love to put with those two. And maybe it's overkill. Let me make sure, because I no longer have sorted by positions. I'm just popping player names in, and I just control find them. Jalen Walker at Georgia is my dude. Jalen Walker, I think, is awesome. And Abdul Carter's kind of in the same vein, where last year his whole life he's been a linebacker, and then now he's an edge rusher. And so you can see, like, sweet, you've got the tools because you're this incredible athlete to be a good pass rusher, and you were a linebacker. Jalen Walker for Georgia is doing both of those jobs. Like, he's playing linebacker, now he's rushing the passer, now he's blitzing, now he's back at linebacker. And boy, he is strong, fast, quick, doesn't stop. And in this draft, that's top 10 pick. And if you don't go in the top 10, bring him to me. Can cover a little, thumper, pass rusher, linebacker. That's my guy. Where do you take Tet McMillan in last year's draft? Let's see. Wide receivers. He does not go before Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze. Brian Thomas Jr. Tet might go 23rd, where Brian Thomas went. If not, he goes 28th or 31st. So I think in last year's draft, Tet gets picked in the 20s. And Burden gets picked in that same range. Yeah, where all the wide receivers went 28 to 33. There was 5 of them. He'd be in that range too. He's up there with Odunze. No, he's not as a prospect. Like, that, I think, is factoring in what has already happened this year that we know has happened this year with Odunze. When it was time to draft those wide receivers, most people had those 3 really close. I had it Neighbors, Harrison, Odunze. I think most had it Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, but it was close. What happened to Sky Moore, Jeff? He just needs a real quarterback. You got to give him a good coach and a good quarterback. He hasn't had those yet. He got screwed. Went to Kansas City. Is Mozzie still a starter next year? I hope not. I'll guess yes. The only way he's not is if they invest in a real free agent nose tackle or use a draft pick in their 1st or 2nd round to take his job. So my guess is that Mozzie is the starting nose tackle next year. But I hope not. I hope they sign a guy. And then if Mozzie does continue to come along like he's kind of done the last few weeks and becomes the starter, that's cool. I got more good players. But I don't want to bank on that. Travis Hunter or Jalen Carter? Travis Hunter. That's like your boy Darius getting real playing time. I told you guys he should be drafted. I loved him. The NFL didn't even draft him because he was 5'7". That was messed up. Our Darius Washington's a football player. Always was. Go easy on Broadus. Never. What was the question? Yeah. Oh, so Jalen Carter. That makes me think about Mason Graham. Like, he's a really good player. But he's also not like, he's 320 pounds. 320 pounds should be a really strong defensive tackle. Like, he's not a long arm guy. He's not an overwhelming power guy. He plays low. He's super active. He's tough to keep blocked. He can get in the backfield. He's a really good player. But it's the same thing. He's an in this draft guy. If Leonard Williams was in this draft, if Jalen Carter was in this draft, Mason Graham's not a top 10 pick. He's a good player. And in this draft, that's a top 10 pick. Travis Hunter goes 1, even if you need a QB. No way, no way, no way. You are severely underestimating what quarterback means. Who's your favorite guy so far this year? Banks, Texas offensive lineman. I hadn't heard a lot about him. Now, granted, it's December, and I do probably live in my little draft bubble, but I hadn't heard a ton about him. And I'd heard about a couple of other offensive linemen as being like the top offensive linemen, and I've seen those other guys play. I'm like, not to me. Not to me. Any chance Hunter plays cornerback over wide receiver? Absolutely. I would bet that he does. Because I think it's easier, and I don't know why. I'll figure out why I feel this way. But I'm very confident in saying it, even though I'm not sure why I feel this way. I'm very confident in saying that it makes more sense to be a cornerback who plays wide receiver than a wide receiver who plays cornerback. I think it's weird to run onto the field for 20 snaps on defense as a receiver. I feel like that's the job that you need to be in the room more and knowing exactly what's going on than at wide receiver, where I think you can kind of just run on and play some plays. And I don't know. I don't know why I feel that way, but I'm confident in saying it. I'd put the ball in his hand. Any other blue chippers this year out of Travis Hunter? I don't think so. No, I think there's one blue chip prospect. And that doesn't mean that, well, maybe Jeanty. Maybe. Like, I don't think it applies to Graham or Abdul Carter. Maybe Malachi Starks. No, probably not. No, I think there's one blue chip prospect in this draft. I think there's one. Why would you take Hunter over Jalen Carter? Travis Hunter? I think he's a better player. And I love Jalen Carter. Yeah, I think he's a better football player. I'm trying to pick the best player. One blue chip and several blue chew. I actually got my blue chew today. It arrived in the mail. Have you watched any other corners yet? Only the Michigan one, and he looks really good. He looks very nice. He's a first-round guy. First-round guys. The Michigan corner man, Travis Hunter. Georgia safety Malachi Starks. Walker, the linebacker / rusher at Georgia. Carter, Penn State rusher. Mason Graham, Michigan D tackle. Kelvin Banks, Texas offensive tackle. Ashton Jeanty. That's my first round graded guys so far. Kaleb or Omar. I think Carter is generational. Well, he's behind the curve at getting going as generational. And I loved Jalen Carter as a prospect, and he's a really good player. But he didn't, I thought he was one of the guys that might just show up and wreck the league. And that hadn't happened. But he is good. He's quite good. And he may be on his way to the Pro Bowl every year starting next year. I don't know. He's really good. But Travis Hunter's better than however good you think he is. He's better. That's Travis Hunter. Do you downgrade that Ohio State tackle that has a knee? No, well, it's not. I won't where I put him because I don't know. They've never even released what happened to him. We know it was season ending, which means it was at least an ACL, but I heard my buddy Dane Brugler talking about it, and he said the word patella and maybe multiple ligaments. And so I don't know. You'll see at the combine. You'll see where he is. His agent says he'll be ready for the start of training camp. Cool. And that would be great. Bro, Jeff, he is regularly. I don't want to argue back and forth about this. I love Jalen Carter. He's a really good player. But, he's not Dexter Lawrencing the league. Maybe he's on his way to doing that. Check out the other Michigan corner in the South Carolina. I will. Do we still care about running back wear from college? A little bit. I don't want him coming with 1,200 carries. Hunter or Neighbors if they're in the same class. As a receiver, Neighbors. Hunter's weird because you got to know what you're doing. You got to know exactly what you're doing. If you're picking him to do one thing, I think Malik Neighbors is a better receiver prospect than Travis Hunter. It's just going to be, what are you doing? Because Travis Hunter really can be a Pro Bowl corner who's your best wide receiver. I just don't know if his cardio is going to let him play starter snaps. I don't know. And if so, how long can you do that before your body's like, what are we doing? That seems tough. I believe we're going to get one of the best defensive players in the draft, and that would you have had him with number 13 and Mike Parsons is going to help us be a really good defense. Yeah, add another good defensive player would be a lot of fun. I think Mike Parsons is going to have a new number next year, by the way. Put that in your pocket. Don't tell anybody. Everybody. Hi, Jeff. Do you miss the freak? I do. Kind of. But I think every time I've moved on to something different, I've found things are going even better than they were before. So I'm happy. If you treat him as a corner and wide receiver separately, what would Hunter have been last year's draft at each position? Hunter would have been knowing what we have seen after rookie years, I would make him the second receiver. But I think in last year's draft, he's probably the fourth, maybe the third. And he's probably the top corner in last year's draft. Probably. All right. Everybody kick ass. Have a great night. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to go do something. Remember that this is draft chat number 1, which means there will be many more at some point. Because if I'm not doing anything else, why wouldn't I just pop on and say hi to everybody? Hi, everybody. Remember, you have no idea what anybody's going through, so be cool to everyone. I love you. Be easy.